Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another stock market outlook video brought to you by DeepView. As always, we're going to run through the market indexes, leading themes, and leading names, and cover a bunch of stocks that are potentially setting up for moves next week for swing and position trades. If you do find this video helpful, please go ahead and leave a like down below. Just takes a second and really helps me out and my channel. And of course, subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this one every single week. Also, if you haven't yet tried DeepView, we have a special offer right now, 2 months for $39. The link to that is down below in the description as well as popping up right now. With that said, let's go ahead and dive right in and start with the NASDAQ 100 ETF, the QQQ. The big move last week happened on Friday. Big upside reversal, looked pretty, dire intraday. But closed well above the 21 EMA right near the open. So watching for potential fall throughs to the upside. But it was the end of month. There's a lot of kind of reorganization and positioning in terms of what institutions do end of month. And this probably contributed to this wide range. But just, watching that, we are below a declining 10 EMA. We are still above a rising 21 and 50 SMA. So that kind of short term and, intermediate term and longer term moving average. The trend is still up regarding those, but we have been consolidating now for about 2 weeks. We try to push up, weren't really able to progress further, and now we're pulling back, and we've got this upside reversal within the context of a very short-term downtrend. So watching to see if we can kind of build on this momentum and progress nicely early next week. Not too much else to say. We've got breaths, a little bit of net lows down in here, but we're seeing net highs again on Friday, and breadth increasing a little bit on Friday, which is a good sign. But we'll have to see what happens. And if we do get that fall through, I'd love to see us, break back above that 10 EMA and start trending above all those and really progress into new highs and take out these previous highs. Looking at next week, we had this big downside reversal. We weren't able to fall through to the downside on that, which was a positive. We stayed inside, tried to progress a little bit further. But then on this Wednesday, we kind of leaked below that, and then we kind of broke below this short-term range on this Thursday, and then we had the upside reversal. So again, a little bit of a short-term downtrend just over the past few days, but in the very short term, based on Friday's close, expecting some type of momentum to upside. Doesn't mean that we'll get it, but that's our expectation, and then we'll just have to see what actually happens and recalibrate our thoughts based on that. Looking at the small caps, the IWO, in terms of the growth, looks like a cup and handle here, holding those key moving averages, similar upside reversal here, upside reversal type action here on Friday, and watching for a break of kind of this handle here. We'll go ahead and draw in this pivot and just want to see this break out and take out these previous highs. This has overall been a little bit weaker than the QQQ, but showing similar type action. Looking at the mega caps, on Friday, Apple was the strongest. Nvidia, decent close. We'll take a look at that chart in just a minute. But this is how the mega caps performed over the past week. Looking at the themes, and we'll take a look at the performance charts in just a second, more in depth. But rates percent change from the open. We've got ERX, the strongest. Some kind of like energy type names up here. And if we scroll down, SLV losing the most. Blockchain down there as well. But let's actually take a look over here in this tab to get more deeper perspective. And this is now on a 5-day basis. This was from the open on Friday. So this is more of over the course of the week. How did these ETFs perform? TAN acting the best, XRT up there as well, ERX up there, iBuy up there, junior miners up there as well, iDrive. And then down here, we've got ARKG. A lot of the ARK funds got took hits pretty hard. I know Path gapped down on earnings. There's probably been some other ones. Hack down here as well, which is unfortunate because crowd was kind of setting up. But these are the themes that we want to be focused on. This is where the rotation is flowing as of the moment. Here's the same view in terms of the sectors. XRT at the top there, XOP up there as well. And over the past 5 days, obviously Nvidia with a strong move post earnings. That's been the strongest here. Apple not too far behind, and Tesla actually, gaining a decent amount over the past 5 days. And then in terms of my universe list, this is the past 5 days top performers. You've got GME up there just because it's so volatile up and down. I should probably take this off my universe list at pretty soon. I'll probably do this after this video. HIM's acting really nicely. It just barely undercut the gap low, and we'll take a look at the chart. Sorry to just mention it, but it barely just undercut that gap day low. and then broke a downward trend line and then progressed super strongly. So this has kind of that N factor going for it with the Ozempic competitor, through their platform. So this is pretty interesting. Kava up there acting well. So let's go actually take a look at these charts. Let's stop just kind of talking about the ticker names, and let's bring up that HIMS chart just to show that. So bring that up. We barely undercut this low and then push through the downward trend line here and really strengthened this day. I think we're up, 13%. A little bit of volatility to end out the day. Wasn't really able to progress after breaking through this high. But if you're waiting to break this high to buy this name, you're buying extended. You really want to be buying the consolidation, the tightness, and then kind of letting that expansion work for you, get you out of profit right away. Whether you're a swing trader, you sell into strength; day trader, you're just kind of trading the intraday moves; and position trader, you just want to get that profit cushion. So whatever your time frame, you want to be buying more coming and just emerging from that consolidation instead of waiting for this type of pivot up here, which is significant, but there's a lot of volatility around that pivot, as you can see. Moving on, let's bring up Hood is worth mentioning for sure. So this one has progressed nicely after this retest of this kind of intra-base pivot, acting really nicely, super strong this day. This is when you would want to be involved after watching it kind of fall to that level and then pushed high, new highs, and then a little bit of volatility here on Friday. A lot of stocks, had something similar, and good push off the 10 EMA. This would be a key level to watch to see if you can continue to hold that and start to build out a trend after this base breakout. Moving on, let's take a look. Let's go ahead and sort this by just the symbol. Kava, definitely worth mentioning here. We bring that up. Very volatile after earnings, but really strong bar outside day, fall through the next day, and then inside day. So acting well, just in a trend as of this moment. Likely you want to be involved, from this outside day near the bottom of the base, reclaim the 21 EMA the next day as it really kind of confirms that strength, or maybe after, it retests that 10 EMA, get along this upside reversal on the fall through day, or maybe from this tightness as it moved up. Here you're kind of late to the game. You kind of want to already be positioned as it pushes up the right-hand side of the base and shortly after the base breakout. Let's see here. DEC, definitely worth mentioning here. Obviously, strong action. We'll actually show the earnings here using the stats table. 67% EPS surprise. As you can see, sales also a little bit of a surprise. Very strong growth and great gap up and post gap action. ONON, we'll also take a look at that one. That one's setting up nicely. Bros, I want to mention here. This I like. If we go to the weekly chart, if we bring that up, I like how this is setting up overall. It's kind of forming its institutional due diligence phase and starting to form some higher lows here, and just watching for an actual pattern. We've had a strong push up on earnings and then kind of 4 weeks of consolidation and not much give back after the strong week. So this could be a really good spot on the weekly chart. Then narrow down your focus and look at a daily chart to try to find an entry. This level is pretty key as well, right around 35. So that whole number, and going back to the daily chart, we're forming kind of a cup and handle, and just watching for now, ideally some fall through off the action on Friday. We had a strong retest of that 21 EMA, good close off lows, and just watching for this pattern to build out more. And you do have this downward trend line that you can go ahead and draw. We'll see if it kind of firms up, maybe some inside days, and then allow you to manage risk right at those lows of that short-term range if that does form, or just watching for fall through and managing risk on that breakout day. Burlington, another name within kind of the consumer textiles, that type of thing. Specialty retail, as you can see here, gapping up. This isn't really a name I'm super interested in trading. It's not the biggest mover. There's not really an N factor here, but it's been acting well. And Abercrombie & Fitch has been a great stock. So who says this one can't act well? Moving on, let's take a look down here. ELF, definitely worth mentioning. We'll see if this can continue its model book move that's had. And you can see we had a recent earnings gap, and now we're forming a nice tight flag, EMA crossback right here against the 10 EMA. We'll see if we can push up off the, up the right-hand side of this base. FSLR, definitely worth mentioning. The solar theme here, super strong after this breakout and forming, very tight flag here. So maybe actionable for a swing trade here. Ideally, you get kind of one more week of flagging action tight consolidation, let that 10 EMA and 21 EMA catch up to price. But it's holding up so tight here that, I wouldn't be surprised to see it push out, but, probably not the best risk reward entry up here. What would be better if it built out a little bit more of a substantial consolidation and let those moving averages catch up to price, but definitely a theme. I know NXT is kind of moving off the lows as well, but this is kind of the leader within that space for sure. Moving on, let's keep scrolling here. Let's take a look at MU. This has been a semi leader, pulling back along with, some other semi names were pulling back late last week, but decent closes Friday. So this would actually be a pretty good low risk opportunity spot. You've got this consolidation pivot right here where it found support, confluence of that and the 50 SMA on Friday, and just watching for fall through up and ideally breaking again through these highs and progressing and trending nicely. Let's bring up NVAX. This is a name that's setting up. This obviously is a biotech. There's extra risk here, but a very powerful pattern, very powerful move kind of from a neglect period, and super strong gap up on huge volume, and now very, very tight. You can see RMB going to 0 and very tight the past few days using these highs as pivots, and it can manage risk at that 10 EMA really nicely. MVCR also setting up kind of a similar type pattern, not quite as neglect phase, and this is kind of coming off the lows, so not everybody likes these type of setups, but very powerful up here and forming a tight flag into that 10 EMA. NVIDIA, of course, we want to take a look at this chart. Very strong, short-term extended up here, and now is kind of flagging, doing all the right things, good close off lows, and, staying above those moving averages. That's all it really has to do to behave. It got very short-term extended up in this area after kind of 2 gaps. And now we've got, I'm not quite sure if this filled the gap. The high here is 106.64. Yeah, so not quite filling that gap. I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, just would love to see this kind of flag out for a week or two. Form 3 weeks tight, that would be perfect. Let that 21 EMA catch up to price, and then it could, basically create a nice low risk add-on point or buy point for a swing trade. ONON, want to bring this chart up. Super strong after this flag. So on the gap up, you don't have to be involved. You just have to wait for, tightness to form. You could buy this day or buy after it pushed through the flag. And this is a theme that definitely is, acting really well along with DEC. Let's see if there's any other names I really want to focus on. I know PAAS forming a tight flag here. This is the silver theme, the mining theme, which has been pretty strong. So we'll see if this can progress from this flag and continue to trend nicely. SG, this is forming an outside reversal right near the 21 EMA. Definitely potentially actionable and interesting for next week. And let's see if there's any others I really want to mention. I think that's mostly it. Yeah, VST, I think, broke down a little bit. Yeah, broke down a little bit. So there's a little bit of cracks forming in the semiconductor AI theme. Not everything is holding up well. We obviously had Dell on this past Friday with the earnings gap down, did, bounce at that 50 SMA. But, this isn't the strongest pattern, right? So, not everything is 100% amazing in the semiconductor space. Still definitely a leading theme. But I didn't like seeing this get hit. It was a little bit short-term extended into earnings, and I'll be interested to see how this kind of builds out, whether, it gets bought up immediately, forms a little bit of a tight range first, maybe against a 50, and then pushes out. Netflix had some similar type action if we bring up that chart. So if we see something like this where it forms a range and then pushes up higher, then, things are still in play, but it might just need a little bit of time, and we'll see how it acts after that earnings gap down. But that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what I wanted to cover here today in this video. Let me know your thoughts on the market down below. I'd love to hear kind of what you're thinking, what you're watching as well. And if you did find this video helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you left a like down below. Leave a comment as well with your thoughts. I love interacting with you guys and hearing what you have to say. I'm sure you know something that I missed, so please let me know. And definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, especially if you're watching all the way up to this point. And finally, definitely check out DeepView if you haven't already. So with that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in future videos. Take care.